Today, the scripture passage is the ascension of Jesus into heaven. The ascension of Jesus is, like it or not, one of the lines in the Apostles' Creed. It's one of these lines. He descended into hell, rose again, and ascended to seated at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. From thence he shall judge the quick and the dead, yada, yada, yada. You have these words that it's there. It's a part of the faith. And I am just a bit too cynical for it. I'm a bit too of my time, I think. It feels a bit less like miracle and more like myth. A miracle, I can kind of get my head wrapped around it. I don't need help imagining Jesus healing somebody who's sick. You used to have a fever, Jesus showed up, and you're good. I can picture that. I don't need help imagining the feeding of the 5,000, all these people sitting around, and suddenly there's just more than enough. There's this like generative food. I can get behind that. And then there's places where artists have helped me imagine. Sometimes good, sometimes not so good. Like, I don't actually experience exorcisms in my daily life. That was not a class in seminary. I'm sorry, Heath. I know you need one, or your truck or something. But Hollywood has given me some kind of an imagination of what an exorcism looks like. Whether or not I think it's accurate, that's second. But it helps. To be fair, the artistry around the ascension of Jesus only makes me feel more cynical about the whole thing. Because Jesus, just picturing a person floating up to heaven, my first reaction is, if I grabbed Jesus' ankle as he's floating up, would he take me with? This is what I think about. I don't know about you. And the other is like, if I picture Jesus floating up, what artists have taught me is Jesus is now Superman, flying into the sky. And I'm always kind of curious, like when I've gone to baseball games and there's a pop fly, I can never see the ball. So how quick is this happening? This is why I'm not good at golf. I lose the ball immediately. Actually, that's false. I never lose the ball because I can't kick it. I kick it 5 feet rather than actually hitting it at all any kind of distance. But anyway, so if he's flying up, it feels more myth than miracle. To say nothing of like science, right? Like human beings have gotten into the sky, whether it was planes or even past that into space. Our astronauts did not bump into God when they landed on the moon. If Jesus is moving at the speed of light, he's not even out of the Milky Way yet. 2026 years, that's if he started at year 0. Like 2,000 years later, he's not even out of the Milky Way. So maybe my cynical mind isn't meant to have the ascension of Jesus. But I don't know. If I stand outside the text a little bit, if I try to give it a little bit more room to breathe, rather than my immediate like, well, this couldn't happen and this doesn't happen and this is like Superman. If I just give the text a little room to be itself, remembering one thing, at the time that this is written, every hero, every person you are supposed to shape your life after that everybody would know about ascends. They get bigger. Virgil said that at the death of Julius Caesar, there is a comet in the sky, and that comet was Caesar ascending to the right hand of the gods. I wonder where we got that language from. To say nothing of climbing a mountain or being transfigured there. So to some extent, this ascension of Jesus is an authority stance. If Jesus is now up there, then the words of Jesus carry a bit more weight for those of us down here. And the metaphor has translated from 2,000 years. Think about it. If you are deciding to run a political campaign and it's immediately successful, and in fact, not only are you about to win your first campaign, as you are winning your first campaign, they're talking about your next campaign. That's called a rise in power. A rise. You are looking up. What are the top offices in the land? It's just said it in that sentence. The top offices, you have higher office. Take it out of the political sphere. Someone is important to you who you want to model your life after. They are someone you look up to. Up is somehow a level of authority in our lives. And I could go into the three-tiered universe about how gods are up, but I've done that so many times this year, and we're not even halfway through. So if you want to know about the three-tiered universe, I'll talk to you afterwards. But there's something a little bit more. I think that these ancient people are reaching for something deeply true about the human experience, because if Jesus rose from the dead, why isn't Jesus still here? I think that's what the ascension answers. If death is conquered, where is the guy? If heaven isn't up there, what are we talking about? I think that the ascension of Jesus is important because it declares that the ministry, the life, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus isn't limited by geography. That faith in Jesus isn't about a mountaintop experience. It's not about a building. It's not about a specific land. It's actually about everyone. Because love changes when someone isn't here anymore. It's a strange thing about being human and the whole human experience is that someone's absence from our lives doesn't make the relationship disappear. Hear that again. Someone's absence from our lives does not make the relationship disappear. That can mean something as easy as friendship. I got to see my oldest friend, not because he is actually old, but because he remembers the first day of first grade with me. I was late. I don't remember it, but I believe him. And the moment we sat down, it was like we hadn't stopped talking. But if you've also ever lost someone, if you've experienced that pain of someone no longer being here, they stop being available in ordinary ways. You can't text them, no matter how much you wish you could. You don't get to hear their voice, not directly. But if it's somebody who formed you, fashioned you, helped shape you, have you ever opened your mouth and a person who isn't here anymore came out? I have been talking to my children and suddenly my dad came out of my mouth at them. Then I had to apologize. When someone is no longer here, there's that experience that relationships keep going. Then there's the other encounter of when someone goes and you realize that other people had different experiences of them. Have you encountered that? That's one of the fun parts of a funeral. Fun funeral. One of the conversation partners is to see how people interacted with the people you loved. My great uncle Warren. Now, on my dad's side, I didn't get to meet any of my grandparents, not one. But on my dad's side, we don't live long. We are doomed for a short time in this plane, except for one exception. This is my great uncle Warren, my grandfather's brother. Now. His sister never stopped seeing Warren as the guy who was in the 60s and 50s, and that was a man who drank a bit too much, who went notably, Warren went cold turkey in 1969. You know why? And I quote, "They kept putting mailboxes in the middle of the street." Sure about that, Warren? But he quit. He was sober, for most of that. My dad, the way my dad saw Warren was always just Warren, I think, was my dad's bully. He would just, my dad, you would say he would go from 0 to 100. That's wrong. My dad, was idling at 75, kind of mad most of the time. And when Warren walked into the room, it was like, "Warren!" And Warren just thought it was the funniest thing. He'd call my dad Dewey. He's like, "I've been telling you since I was 12, you stop calling me that." And he'd just giggle. My experience of Warren, I can't tell you every experience I've had of Warren, but here's the clip. At my wedding, he's 93. That's what I said. He broke the rule of how old we get on this side of the Nelson family. He's 93, single his whole life. Coke bottle glasses, so his eyes just look like they're bugging out of his head. And he walks up to my mom's friend Judy, who's all of 74. And he walks up to her, Judy, who is also single, and he just goes, "Hey. I got a few Werther's Originals." I'm like, "Warren, all right, man." And then I go to his funeral. I'm at his funeral, and you know what I heard? The pastor gets up, and the pastor starts talking about a guy who I had to wonder if I was at the right funeral. I heard about this kind and gentle soul who was so welcoming, who volunteered at Sunday school. I'm like, Warren told the dirtiest jokes. What? And they're like, he would always volunteer, and he was like everyone's grandpa. And I'm like, and I'm looking at my dad. My dad goes, "I don't know who this guy is." And then the eulogy happens, and people were taking turns, and they're like, "The guy who would walk the streets of our town, and everyone knew him, and he would buy you breakfast if you were a little short." And my dad's like, "He was the cheapest skate." What? And to be fair, here's the thing. We're all right. All of us. Because everybody gets an experience of the lived person. We each connect to one another differently. How did these disciples connect to Jesus? How is Jesus? If he were still here, we would still all react to him differently. But as Jesus ascends to heaven, now it's his memory carried on by those who knew him. It is on them to have his life live through them. I don't carry Werther's Originals in my pocket like Uncle Warren, but I want to carry that carefree life. I want to remember him well. It kind of reminds me of the way sometimes when a celebrity passes away. Where were you, maybe dating myself, when Princess Diana, Robin Williams, our own favorite son of Minnesota, Prince, or if you're like me, Ozzy. People get overwhelmed by the way the art of someone shaped and formed you in a time or in a place. And when they're gone, you maybe never met them, you never got anything signed by them, but you feel their absence gone. But somehow you carry a piece of their life with you from that place to now. We realize that that's the part of what life is to be lived. So the disciples are standing there. They are watching Jesus disappear. And here's one of my favorite parts about this passage. These two guys show up and are like, "What are you doing? Move it along. And I just can't help but feel like this is Ferris Bueller's Day Off. If you saw that movie, there's a post-credit scene. The movie's over. Go home. But what chapter are we in? 1. This Acts is longer than any of the Gospels. Because this is about what we are now getting along to do. And in fact, I love the metaphor that the book of Acts never finished. That somewhere, somehow, in the great mystery of God, there are chapters of Acts that have continued on since then to now. There's a chapter with your name on it and mine. And maybe this is the deepest truth of the ascension. Not that Jesus escaped the world. Not that he vanished somewhere above the clouds and into the stratosphere. But that his life could no longer be contained in one place, one body, or one moment in history. The disciples stand there staring upward, and the angels tell them, don't stay here looking to the sky, because faith is not about escaping earth. Our faith is not about getting out of this place. It's about experiencing that grace of God and then returning to life differently. That you might engage with life with courage, with mercy, with a hope stubborn enough to keep loving a world even when it breaks your heart. Yes, the universe, the cosmos, is so much larger and stranger than the writer of the book of Acts could have possibly imagined. And still, the writer understood something very true. That there are forces more real than we can possibly be measured or touched. That love shapes lives long after the voices fall silent. That hope survives even in the worst of nights. That grace keeps appearing in ordinary people. And somehow, against a lot of evidence to the contrary, life overcomes death. And that is the mystery that we proclaim. That is the story of Jesus, because it did not end with absence. His life continues in all who call on his name, in their courage, in their compassion, in their seek for justice, in their refusal to give up on one another. And because of that, they believed they could face tomorrow. Not because they knew exactly what would happen, because the world, and not because the world became safe or easy, but because they trusted they would not face the future alone. Christ did not abandon this world. Christ abided in this world in a new and different way that lived well past his earthly presence. And it lives till now. Amen.